Chapter 6. Leadership and Responsibility. The material universe is inherently adaptable and flexible. The rational force that governs it harbors no evil and cannot cause harm. It acts according to its will and design. Whether you're cold or warm, half asleep or fully awake, praised or criticized, it's all the same as long as you fulfill your duties. Even dying is one of life's tasks. Look carefully and fully understand the true nature and value of everything. All substances are subject to change and will either evaporate, if everything is to be merged into one substance, or scatter, as some believe. The rational essence that governs all things understands itself, its purpose, and its context best. Therefore, it's no surprise that we, who lack this understanding, often marvel at things we can't comprehend. The best type of revenge is not to stop to the level of those who wronged us. Let your only joy and comfort be in performing kind actions continuously, with God always in your thoughts. The rational part of us, which could motivate and transform itself, also has the power to shape its perception of itself and its experiences. All individual things are determined by the nature of the universe, not by any other nature. The universe could either be a chaotic mass of intricately interwoven elements destined to disperse over time, or it could be an orderly, providentially governed union. If it's the former, why should I desire to continue in this chaotic mix? Why should I care about anything other than returning to the earth as quickly as possible? Regardless of what I do, dispersion is inevitable. If it's the latter, then my religious devotion isn't in vain. I can remain calm, patient, and trust the one who governs everything. Whenever you're troubled by difficult circumstances, return to your center as quickly as possible. This practice will help you maintain balance in the future. If you slip, quickly return to your center and start again. If you had both a stepmother and a biological mother, you would honor both, but your primary refuge would be your biological mother. Similarly, let the court and philosophy serve you. Turn to philosophy often for comfort. It's through philosophy that you can tolerate other things and be tolerable to others. It's incredibly useful to see things as they truly are. For example, food is just the carcass of a fish, bird, or pig. The highly praised wine is just grape juice. The purple robe is just sheep's wool dyed with shellfish blood. Sex is just the friction of ordinary body parts and the release of a small amount of fluid, according to Hippocrates. Use this perspective throughout your life, especially when you're dealing with things that seem important. Strip away their superficial grandeur and see them for what they really are. Remember what Crates said about Xenocrates. The things that most people admire are often quite ordinary, such as stones, wood, figs, vines, and olives. More discerning people may admire living things like herds of animals. Those with a refined taste may admire the capabilities of rational beings, such as artistry or craftiness. But those who truly value rationality and sociability above all else will focus on preserving these qualities in themselves, thereby aligning with the divine nature they share. Some things are coming into existence, others are fading away. Even what exists now is partly in the past. The world is constantly changing, and time makes the age of the world, which is infinite, seem always new. In this constant flux, what should we hold on to, given that everything is fleeting? Life is no more permanent than a sparrow seen one moment and gone the next, or the act of breathing. Breathing in and out, something we do every day, is as essential as taking in the air around us and exhaling it back out. This air, which we've only recently, as if it were yesterday or today, inhaled, carries life with it. It's not the type of respiration that plants have, nor the type that animals have, nor our imaginative ability, nor our susceptibility to our physical desires, nor our ability to congregate and eat, that's valuable to us. After all, eating is no better than the ability to excrete what we've consumed. So, what should we value? The sound of applause? If not, then neither should we value praise from others. The praise of many is no better than their idle chatter. If applause is not valuable, then what is? I believe it's this: that all your actions and decisions are guided by your true nature and structure. This is the goal of all arts and professions. Every art strives to ensure that whatever it creates is fit for its intended purpose. This is the aim of the vine dresser, the horse trainer, the dog trainer. Isn't this also the goal of education and all learned professions? It should be what we value as well. If you're succeeding in this respect, you shouldn't worry about achieving other things. But if you can't help but value other things, can you truly be free? Can you be content with yourself? You'll always be subject to your emotions. You'll inevitably feel envious, suspicious, and resentful of those who can take away what you value. You'll secretly undermine those who have what you want. In short, you'll be in constant turmoil and will often blame the gods. But if you value only your mind, you'll be content with yourself, easy to get along with, and in harmony with the gods, accepting whatever they deem fit to give you. The elements move in all directions, but the movement of virtue is something more excellent and divine. It's a path that isn't easily understood. It's surprising that people won't speak well of those they live with, yet they strive for praise from future generations they'll never meet. It's as if they're upset they weren't praised by those who lived before them. Never consider something impossible just because you can't do it or find it difficult. If you think something is possible for anyone, believe it's possible for you too. Imagine someone has injured you in a wrestling match. You're hurt, but you don't complain or hold a grudge. You don't avoid them out of fear. Even though you try to protect yourself, you don't see them as an enemy. Maintain the same attitude in other aspects of your life. There are many situations we should approach as if we're in a wrestling match. It's entirely possible to avoid and deflect without suspicion or hatred. If someone corrects me and shows me that I'm wrong in my beliefs or actions, I'll gladly change my ways. I'm seeking the truth, which I know can't harm me. I also know that remaining in error or ignorance is harmful. I'll do what I must. As for other things, whether they're inanimate, irrational, or rational, but misguided, they won't trouble or distract me. I'll use inanimate things as a rational being should. I'll behave sociably towards other rational beings. Whatever I'm doing, I'll remember to call upon the gods. And as for how long I must do these things, it doesn't matter. Even 3 hours is enough. Alexander the Great and his mule handler ended up the same in death. Both returned to the basic elements from which all things in the world are derived, or they were both dispersed into atoms. Consider the multitude of diverse things, concerning our bodies and souls, that happen to each of us in a moment. You won't be surprised then, if many more things, or rather all things that happen, can exist simultaneously in the world. If someone asks you how to spell the name Antoninus, wouldn't you focus on it and pronounce each letter in order? If someone argues with you about it, would you argue back or calmly continue spelling the name as you started? Similarly, remember that every task consists of certain steps, like letters in a word. You should proceed through them calmly and orderly, without arguing with those who want to argue with you. Isn't it cruel to prevent people from pursuing what they believe is best for them? You deny them this freedom when you get angry at their mistakes. They are drawn to these mistakes as if they were beneficial. If you think they're wrong, teach them better, but don't get angry. Death is a release from sensory impressions, passion's tyranny, mind's errors, and body's servitude. If your body can endure this life, it would be a shame if your soul gave up first. Be careful not to become a mere politician over time, tainted by the court. Stay simple, good, sincere, serious, unpretentious, just, religious, kind, compassionate, strong, and ready to face anything. Strive to remain the person philosophy would have made you. Worship the gods, promote people's welfare. Life is short. Acts of kindness and a holy disposition are the only fruits of earthly life. Act as a disciple of Antoninus Pius should. Remember his firmness in doing what was right, his consistency, his holiness, his cheerful face, his kindness, his humility, his pursuit of knowledge, his patience with critics, his refusal to rush or listen to slander, his careful examination of people's actions and attitudes. Remember his lack of gossip, his courage, his lack of suspicion, his plain speaking, his contentment with simple living, his ability to work hard, his patience, his consistency in friendship, his openness to advice, and his religiousness without superstition. Remember these things so that when your time comes, you can face it with a clear conscience, as he did. Wake up your mind from its natural dreams and visions. When you're fully awake and realize they were just dreams, look at worldly things the same way you look at those dreams. I consist of body and soul. To my body, all things are indifferent because it can't perceive any difference between things. To my mind, all things outside its operation are indifferent. And its operations depend entirely on it, and it only concerns itself with the present. Future and past operations are also indifferent to it. If a foot does what a foot should do, and a hand does what a hand should do, their work is natural. So, a man's work is natural if he does what a man should do. And if it's natural, then it's not harmful. But if happiness consisted in pleasure, how could notorious robbers, impure people, parricides, and tyrants have so much pleasure? Don't you see how even those who practice technical trades, even if they're not particularly clever, stick to their trade and can't bear to deviate from it? Isn't it a shame that an architect or a doctor respects the intricacies of their profession more than a person respects the natural course of their own life, which is shared with the gods? Asia and Europe are just corners of the world. The sea is a mere drop in the vastness of the universe, and even the great Mount Athos is just a speck of dirt. All our current time is just a single point in eternity. Everything is fleeting, everything changes quickly and will soon perish. Everything comes from one origin, either individually planned and decided by the supreme ruler of all, or as an inevitable consequence. Therefore, the terrifying roar of a lion, all poison, and all harmful things are just as necessary as thorns and mud. They are the inevitable results of beautiful things. Don't think of these as opposites to the things you respect and honor. Instead, consider their true source. Someone who sees the present has seen everything that has ever been or will ever be, because everything is of one kind and like each other. Often ponder the interconnectedness of everything in the world and their mutual relations. Everything is intertwined and fits together well. One thing leads to another through physical movement, natural harmony, and the transformation of all substances into one. Adapt yourself to the circumstances and events that fate has assigned to you. Love the people you are destined to live with, but love them sincerely. A tool, no matter what it is as it should be if it's fit for its intended purpose, even if the person who made it is gone. But in natural things, the power that created and shaped them still exists within them. For this reason, we should respect it more and feel grateful if we can live according to its purpose and intention. In this way, the one who is everything can enjoy his happiness. Whatever is not within your control to achieve or avoid, if you consider any of these things as either good or bad, you'll inevitably complain about the gods and hate those who you blame for your misfortunes or failures. Indeed, we will commit many wrongs if we attach too much importance to these things. But if we only consider those things under our control as good or bad, there's no reason to complain about the gods or be hostile to anyone. We all contribute to a common goal, some knowingly and rationally, others unknowingly. As Heraclitus says, even those who sleep contribute to the world's operations in their own way. Everyone cooperates in their own way, even those who complain and resist. The world needs such people too. So, decide which type you want to be. The administrator of all will employ you, willing or not, and make you cooperate with him so that whatever you do will further his plans. Don't be like the ridiculous verse in a comedy that philosopher Chrysippus mentions. Does the sun attempt to do the rain's job? Or does Aesculapius, the god of medicine, try to do what the earth does? Each star has his own role, but don't they all work together for a common purpose? If the gods have specifically decided what will happen to me, I must accept their decision as wise. For it's hard to imagine a god being foolish. And why would they want to harm me? What benefit would it bring to them or the universe, which they care for? But if they haven't specifically decided about me, they certainly have about the whole. And I should accept whatever happens to me because of their general decision. However, if it turns out that they haven't given any thought to it at all, which is quite disrespectful for anyone to believe, for then we should neither make sacrifices, nor pray, nor honor our promises, nor should we continue to use any of those things, which we use and practice daily, convinced of the presence and confidential communication of the gods among us. But, I say, if it turns out that they haven't really given any thought to any of those things that occur to us in this world, still, I am thankful to God that it is lawful for me to think for myself, and all my thoughts are only about what can be most beneficial to me. Now, what is most beneficial to everyone is what is in line with their own constitution and nature. And my nature is to be logical in all my actions and as a good and natural member of a city and community, to always be sociable and kindly disposed towards my fellow members. My city and country, as I Antoninus, is Rome, as a man, the whole world. Therefore, those things that are beneficial and profitable to those cities are the only things that are good and beneficial for me. Whatever happens to anyone in any way is beneficial to the whole. And this much should suffice to satisfy us, that it is beneficial for the whole in general. But you will also generally notice, if you pay careful attention, that whatever happens to any man or men. And now I am satisfied that the word beneficial should be more generally understood in terms of those things which we otherwise call neutral things, or things indifferent, such as health, wealth, and the like. As the usual sights of the theater and other such places, when they are presented to you, affect you, as the same things seen repeatedly, in the same way, make the sight ungrateful and tedious, so must all the things that we see throughout our lives affect us. For all things, above and below, are still the same, and come from the same causes. So, when will there be an end? Let the various deaths of men of all sorts, and of all sorts of professions, and of all sorts of nations, be a constant object of your thoughts, so that you may even come down to Philisto, Phoebus, and Origanian. Move on to other generations. There we will go after many changes, where so many eloquent orators are, where so many serious philosophers, Heraclitus, Pythagoras, Socrates, where so many heroes of the old times, and then so many brave generals of the later times, and so many kings. After all these, where Eudoxus, Hipparchus, Archimedes, where so many other sharp, generous, hard-working, cunning, decisive characters, and among others, even those, who have been the greatest mockers and scoffers of the fragility and brevity of our human life, like Menippus, and others, as many as there have been such as he. Of all these consider, that they have long since all died, and gone. And what do they suffer from it? Indeed, those who don't even have a name remaining, what harm does it do to them? There is only one thing in this world that is worth our while and should be highly valued by us, and that is, to interact gently and lovingly with false and unjust men, according to truth and righteousness. When you want to comfort and cheer yourself, remember the various gifts and virtues of those with whom you interact daily, such as the diligence of one, the modesty of another, the generosity of a third, something else from another. For nothing can make you happier than the similarities and parallels of various virtues, visible and prominent in the dispositions of those who live with you, especially when they all present themselves to you at once, as closely as possible. And therefore, you must always have them ready. Are you upset that you weigh only so many pounds, and not 300 instead? You have just as many reasons to be upset as that you must live for only so many years, and not longer. For as you are content with the amount of bulk and substance allotted to you, so should you be with time. Let's do our best to persuade them, but regardless, if reason and justice lead you to it, do it, even if they are completely against it. But if anyone forcefully opposes you and prevents you from doing it, redirect your virtuous inclination from one object to another, from justice to contented equanimity, and cheerful patience, so that what is your obstacle in one, you can use it for the exercise of another virtue, and remember that it was with due exception and reservation that you first inclined and desired. For you didn't set your mind on impossible things. On what then? That all your desires might always be moderated with this kind of reservation, And this you have, and can always obtain, whether the thing desired is within your power or not. And what more do I care for, if what I was born and brought into the world for, to rule all my desires with reason and discretion, can be? The ambitious person considers another person's actions, praise, and applause to be his own happiness, the pleasure seeker his own sensations and feelings, but the wise person his own actions. You have the absolute power to completely exclude all manners of thought and opinion concerning this matter, and by the same means, to exclude all grief and sorrow from your soul. For as for the things and objects themselves, they do not have such power in themselves to generate and force any opinion upon us at all. When someone talks to you, focus on their words. Don't let your thoughts wander. Try to connect with their thoughts and feelings as much as possible. For as for the things and objects themselves, they do not have such power in themselves to generate and force any opinion upon us at all. What's not good for the group isn't good for the individual. Will people complain if they're treated well? Do they want more than a safe journey or successful treatment? Many people who were born at the same time as I have already died. People's perceptions can change based on their conditions. For example, honey tastes bitter to someone with jaundice, and water is terrifying to someone who's been bitten by a rabid dog. Children find joy in simple toys. So, why should I get angry? Isn't it possible that people's mistakes are due to their misconceptions, just as physical conditions can alter their perceptions? No one can stop you from living according to your nature. Nothing can happen to you that isn't part of the natural order. Consider the type of people they're trying to impress, what they want to achieve, and how they plan to do it. Remember how time will eventually bury all things, and has already buried so many. Summary of Chapter 6. This chapter centers on Marcus Aurelius' role as a leader and the responsibilities that come with it. He reflects on the challenges of leadership and the need to govern with wisdom and integrity. He advises, if it is not right, do not do it, if it is not true, do not say it.